Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the F word in ACL Rehab. I don't know what you're thinking about, but it's definitely not that. It's fear. In today's video, we're going to talk about fear and how it plays such a big role in ACL Rehab. We're going to go over how to overcome fear and the framework that I use to help my clients get over fear so that they can come back stronger after ACL injury. So if you're ready, let's get into it. So what's happening here is you can see, as you know, there's many criteria in ACL rehab, like strength testing. You gotta make sure your quads, hamstrings are up to par with strength. The other thing is you gotta measure hop tests to make sure that your plyometrics, power, control are all good. These are things commonly talked about in ACL rehab, but nobody talks about the psychological part. So psychological is gonna be made up of fear, anxiety, and doubt. These are all things that can commonly occur in ACL rehab, and it's completely normal. So what are the statistics on this? Up to 50% actually don't end up playing their sport anymore after ACL injury. And this is huge, right? 1 in 2 people don't feel confident enough to go back to their sport, not because they don't feel physically ready, but they're psychologically not feeling ready and confident to go back and do it. So that's a huge barrier that we have to tackle. So I've created a little framework that we can understand fear better. The first one is going to be F, which is going to be for face it, which basically means acknowledge. So acknowledge, meaning it's completely normal. Sorry, I can't spell today, guys. Acknowledge. Acknowledge meaning that it's acknowledging that it's completely normal and it's okay for you to feel fear and doubt in this whole process. You've had a major trauma, major injury that you've had to climb through over 1 year, hopefully less than that, but maybe it's been multiple years for you. So it's completely normal that your knee hasn't felt the same. And fear and doubt can come along with that. So the first step is not to dismiss it, but to acknowledge that it is okay to have fear. The second thing is E, which is going to be evaluate. Now this is super important because not a lot of people talk about how do we evaluate fear? How do we evaluate my readiness? We're going to talk about this on the next part of the video. A is we act on it. So how do we help it? How do we address this fear that we have? How do we get better? And the last one is rebuilding confidence. So this is the final portion of once you acknowledge that there is fear, you evaluate it so you can have a gauge, have an idea of where you're at. We act on it, we address the fear, and then we rebuild the confidence through repetition, through practice. So the first thing we've already talked about is acknowledge. We've talked about how there's up to 50% don't end up playing their sport anymore because they don't feel confident to do so. The next step is evaluate. So how do we evaluate fear? Because it is such an emotional piece, we have to use things like questionnaires. So answering questions based on how you feel, how confident you feel at the time, etc. So we're going to look into the 2 most common evaluation pieces, which are going to be the TSK-11 and the ACL RSI. The TSK stands for Tampa Scale of Kinesiophobia, which basically means it's a scale to measure how fearful you are with movements. So this is something that you would use early to middle stage of your rehab, right? This is going to be mostly, you can use this at any time, right? The way you would find these, by the way, is you just go Google, go TSK-11 scale, and then there's many websites that allow you to self-evaluate this. You can even print this of your own, and then you can fill it out yourself. So you'll see questions like this. You'll basically go on a scale from 1 to 4 if you strongly disagree to strongly agree, right? You can see the first question is, I'm afraid that I might injure myself if I exercise, right? The second question is, if I were to overcome this, my pain would increase. So you start to reflect and understand better, kind of reflect on your own journey and see where you are in terms of your confidence to play or in confidence to move. So just to recap there, the Tampa scale, the TSK-11 is going to be utilized for the early to middle stages of your rehab. So you can do this at any point. The ACL RSI is more of a return to sport scale. The RSI means return to sport after injury. This is ACL specific. There's going to be different RSI scales that you'll see online. So make sure when you Google, when you find it online, it specifically says ACL RSI. And this one's more targeted towards return to sport. So it's going to be later down in your rehab, closer to when you're thinking about going back to sport again. So the questions are going to be, are you confident that you can perform at your previous level of sport, right? You're going to answer from 0 to 10, from not confident at all to fully confident at number 10. So again, you can find these online quite easily. Take your time through these and answer it very honestly. There is at the end of the scale, so at the end of each scale, there's a scoring system. And the scoring system might look like if you've answered 16 points or above, you are in a more highly confident state for coming back to sport, for example. Right? So just follow that scale, and it gives you kind of a general sense of where you're at in terms of confidence. Now, keep in mind, these scales are subjective, which means it's very personalized. Each person is going to be very different. And so it's also not perfect, right? I mean, your answer might change day to day depending on how you feel, because emotions fluctuate every single day. So use these as a guide, not so much as a definitive way to clear yourself for sport. Going back to fear, the acronym, we're going to act on it. So how do we act on fear? How do we get better and gain more confidence? So for that, you've got to be doing things what we call gradual exposure. You want to gradually expose yourself to the activity that you're scared of. So let's say you're scared of jumping off a box for the first time, or you're jumping off a curb, right, for the first time. An easy example could be, instead of jumping off one leg, you jump off two legs. That's an easy regression, or something that's a little bit easier for you to do. In the gym, before somebody's able to jump off a box or onto a box, you might use assistance of a band, you might use assistance of a machine for your arms being able to push you up. So we want to gradually expose you to the activities that you're scared of. You don't want to just go straight into this fearful activity, because that's just not going to do any good. You're scared of that activity, so why would you go straight into it, right? So gradual exposure is the key to overcoming fear. If you're at the late stage, closer to your sport, this is the same thing. Let's say your sport is soccer, and you want to be able to play a full competitive game at 90 minutes because that's what you were doing pre-injury. Now, this isn't something that you would do right away, right? Once you're able to be cleared to play, it doesn't mean that you're going to go play 90 minutes right away. You're going to start with having some ball touches. You're going to start with passing the ball maybe 5 to 10 meters, short passes, before you do long passes. After long passes, then you would actually kick the ball. You kick the ball hard, soft, right? There's many different ways to progress something to make sure that your confidence builds over time. So the key word here is gradual. Going back to the last one, now rebuilding confidence is just going to build on the stuff that we just talked about. Rebuilding confidence, after you do gradual exposure, then you just basically increase reps and time. Right? So the more you do something, the more you should be comfortable with, and then you can progress to the next stage. Now, time, how long does it take for you to feel confident and be able to score higher points on these scales? Everyone's going to be very different. There's no answer for this, unfortunately. Everybody comes from different traumas, different history, backgrounds, so it's just going to take some time. At the very least, you're going to take at least 8 weeks plus, right, to get completely comfortable with something. Right? It's going to take at least 2 months plus. So if you're trying to aim for getting back to full match in soccer of 90 minutes, give yourself at least 2 months to gradually expose yourself to the little things first, like the passes, the kicks, before you participate in a full game. Give yourself at least 8 weeks. So just to recap, just remember the acronym FEAR. F is for facing it and acknowledging it. Don't dismiss fear and doubt. E is evaluate through the TSK-11 and the ACL RSI. A is act on it, address it by gradually exposing yourself to that fearful movement. And then R is rebuilding the confidence through reps and time. Hope you found that video helpful. If you did, please give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe, do all the fun stuff to let me know that this video was good for you. If you want to know the system that I use for my clients and athletes to get them back to running, jumping, and playing once again, I have a free masterclass to show you exactly how I do that. I'll link it in the description below so you can check it out. I'll see you in the next one.